Folks, welcome back. You awake? I had to make sure you guys are awake for this one. This one's important. We're going to talk about how you can still be successful in this hobby in 2025, even if you're brand new, even if you have limited capital, even if you're just now learning about this whole crazy collectible TCG Pokemon space. There's a lot of people out there that seem to think the opportunities are gone. Everything's too expensive. This is all a big, giant pump and dump Ponzi scheme. Nothing has intrinsic value. Nothing's rare. Once all these man children are done with their Pokemon cards for the flavor of the week, no one's going to be able to sell them because no one's going to be there to buy them in the future. And honestly, you hear similar stuff all across other investing markets, right? You always hear the real estate market's going to crash. You're always hearing, people from like Robert Kiyosaki or Peter Schiff, the US dollar is all overinflated. They're printing billions of them. It's all going to collapse. Everyone's going to be living off gold and bartering and things again, right? The only thing that'd be worth anything is real estate. You hear stock market crashes, crypto crashes all the time on the horizon. It's always coming. You always got to be afraid. Pokemon's no different. There's always the next big collapse coming, the reprints, the restocks, all these ridiculous things. And this video really came about from a comment I got. I do still see some of the comments. Don't think I don't. And it hit me. It really did hit me. And what it said was something along the lines of, Alex, your videos have been talking up here. You used to be kind of for the people, the regular collector, regular investor, just getting in, limited capital, how to make the most of your money. And lately you've been talking to the whales, right? You're getting too over our heads. And I said, I think you're right. I think we need to come back to what this channel was founded on and explain to you how everyone can be successful investing in this hobby, even if you're starting right now from zero. I said it. Scarlet Violet base set box. Still an opportunity, in my opinion. $140, still an opportunity. Great price. Brilliant Stars booster box. $280. It's still under $300. Great opportunity. I do not care what somebody else online told you of what price they paid 1, 2, 3 years ago. It's irrelevant, right? That's like talking to someone telling you that they bought Apple stock right after IPO, right? It doesn't mean Apple stock is not still an investment. That's like someone telling you they bought Bitcoin right after it was released when it was still being transacted on the Silk Road, right? It does not mean Bitcoin will not be a good investment and be higher in the future. The same thing goes for these boxes. I remember a time about a year and a half ago when things like Fates Collide, XY era boxes were littered all over eBay and TCG Player for like $330, $350. And people thought, Alex, that's so overvalued. That set's not that great. I could have picked it up at $90 back in 2016, 17, 18, 19, whatever it was. I'm not paying 4x multiple on a weak set. It doesn't make sense. Now Fates Collide boxes are what, $800, something like that. So you made like over 100% on your money in what? Year and a half time. And I understand the whole market's up, all that, blah, blah. But the market hasn't always been up every single year. But what has happened almost every single year is price appreciation on these modern boxes. Even in 2022 and 2023, we saw XY era and Sun and Moon era sets starting to rise, starting to see small increases, 5, 10% here, 15, 20% there. And sure, now they're more pronounced. Now we're seeing 100, 200% rises into this bull market, but they were already rising, right? I talk about this all the time. Before the pandemic, everyone talks about the pandemic boom. Before that happened, all of the early XY sets that had already been out for 2, 3 years, they were all on a rise. The XY base, the Phantom Forces, the Furious Fists, heck, Flashfire was already $350 a box in 2018, 2019. And so these boxes have always risen in value. And after that 2 to 3 year window when the reprints and restocks can hit them, after that window, they usually don't see massive downturns. They'll see price corrections after massive upturns. But unless they go up in this parabolic rate we're seeing now, 200%, you never see massive downturns on these boxes. And you usually see steady price growth as time goes on, as less and less become available on the market, the scarcity rises, the price goes up. And so a lot of people are afraid right now of the price points, and rightly so, right? It's normal emotions getting to you. When price goes up, it makes you feel, a little worried that price is going to come down. What goes up must come down type thing. You hear a lot of people call things overvalued, overinflated, a bubble, all these different, words that play with your emotions. But if you're really investing in this hobby, if you're not investing, if you're trying to make plays, look, making plays is definitely risky. If you're trying to, buy and sell singles, buy and sell sealed product, grade cards, it's always going to be risky. No one knows when things are going to take a downturn in the next 6 months, year, 2 years, whatever. And so that's always going to be a risk. But investing long-term is usually going to be the least risky thing. And why I say that is, depending on what items you choose, it can be more risky. Look at crypto. Investing in Bitcoin or Ethereum or XRP, one of these becoming more staple coins compared to some random coin that just got, some Hawk Tuah coin. Yeah, there's going to be different levels of risk, right? Same thing with the stock market. Investing in things like Apple or Amazon or Facebook is going to be different than investing in some penny stock that just got, listed on the market. Okay. So or investing in a mutual fund, an index fund is going to be less risky than investing in a single stock. So there's always going to be different levels of risk. But when it comes to Pokemon, investing in a sealed product, a sealed booster box, is going to be one of the most risk-free plays that you can find, especially if you have a 3, 5, 7-year mindset. And when you say that, you need to be serious about it, right? You need to understand there could be downturns. You need to understand in a year from now, you may be down on your investment. It may be less than what you paid for it. And you need to understand you can't let those emotions get to you. You can't say, maybe I was wrong. Maybe this is the big crash. Maybe it won't ever recover. I knew Alex was wrong. He's an idiot. And then, you end up selling and 2-3 years go by and now it's like double the price it was then. And you're thinking, what did I do? I need to buy back in. I knew it was going to happen. That's what most people do when they invest, right? They sell when things drop. They buy when things rise. Then they sell when they drop again. They lose money. That's why 90% of traders out there actually lose money on the stock market, right? Because they've got the paper hands. They don't have the long-term mindset. They're always buying into hype cycles. They're always worried about the news, right? They overly get indulged when the hype's there, and then they get overly fearful when things drop and all the news comes out and everyone's talking about the drops and they're saying, I told you so, and this is the big one, and you're never going to make your money back and all those good things. And so, in my experience in this hobby, I've been in 10 years now. A lot of people have been in longer. I don't claim to be the first person to come up with this idea. I don't claim to be any smarter than anybody, which I'm not. I don't claim, to be the longest lasting person in the TCG hobby, which I'm not. But I feel like being in this hobby 10 years has given me at least some perspective. I've seen multiple booms and busts, multiple bull and bear markets, and every single time the same exact pattern repeats. There's a time of, stagnation to small rises. There's times of pumps. There's times of corrections or dumps. There's times of stagnation again. And then there's times of, gradual increases, which leads to another pump and then another correction, dump. And it's the same thing over and over. The one thing that remains though, other than a few particular items, especially, some in the vintage, even some in modern, especially when you look at a Darkness Ablaze, a Vivid Voltage, a Battle Styles, things like that, even Shining Fates. For the most part, after the pump and dump or, rise and correction is over, we usually see the product settle at a higher low. Meaning, if the product starts at $100, runs to $200, it usually settles somewhere, say 130 to 150. It'll usually settle a lot higher than where it started. And then on the next run, it'll usually surpass its old high and then settle at a higher low, higher than that 130 to 150 range. And that's just how these markets move. And the reason they don't crash and people think it's all going to go to zero is because the scarcity always rises as the years go on. There's less and less of these boxes in existence, especially with all the packs being ripped by all the rip and shippers. More packs are being ripped by casual hobbyists. Families nowadays more than ever, right? Back in our day, back in my day, 20 whatever years ago, we used to get like 1, 2, 3 packs from our parents. Nowadays, these kids are getting multiple ETBs or bundles or booster boxes. They're ripping freaking, 20, 30, 40 packs at a time, which is, I don't know, like 20x what we used to get to open on a regular basis. And so all of these factors continue to play into it. And so when I look at these prices, I understand where people are coming from. And I agree to an extent that yes, this is probably not the most optimal time to buy in. But the question is, where do you start then, right? Stock market's at almost an all-time high. It's had some dips lately. Crypto markets had some dips too. When do you buy? Do we buy into this dip? Bitcoin was almost at 110,000. Now it's back under 100 again. Over a 10% drop. Do we buy now after a 10% drop? Alex, it's got further to go. Well, how much further, right? All Sword and Shields went through a drop right now. Well, how much further do they drop? Just infinitely? Do we never buy? And the same thing with Scarlet and Violet era. Well, Alex, it's already at $140 for a base set. It's already at almost $200 for Paldea. It's too late, is it? Was Sword and Shield, was Sun and Moon, was XY too late when those boxes hit $140 to $200? And so try to get out of your head what other people are doing or what other opportunities they had. I don't care if other people have distribution and they got in lower than you. Big deal. There's insider trading on Wall Street, right? There's people who, create the IPOs that get in, sweetheart deals. They were angel investors. There's people who create the crypto coins. They're all the insiders who get the deal before everyone else gets them on the open markets. There's always going to be insiders. There's always going to be somebody out there that paid a cheaper price than you did. Even stores. There are stores that have better distribution deals because they buy more. Some stores pay $88 a box. Some stores pay $90. Some stores pay $92. You are never going to be the absolute lowest on every single product every single time. Doesn't mean you can't be successful. I started out in this hobby as a regular consumer, buying off eBay, right? I still became very successful in the hobby. You don't have to have any insider info, any inside track on product. You don't need to get in at the lowest. Just because you missed the release and some of these sets are older and you're just getting in the hobby, it doesn't mean you missed out. Just go look at charts on XY and Sun and Moon over the last year. You're gonna say, Alex, we're in a big pump phase right now. Go look at charts from 2021 to 2024 on XY and Sun and Moon. Go look at the price rises. There was no pump then. It was a regular market, organic market. And so when you take the data into account and you get your emotions out of it, it makes these decisions so much easier. And you start to see opportunity. Now, look, there are some things where I would say, hey, be a little more cautious. Brand new stuff like Surging Sparks, Prismatic Evolutions. Yeah, very high probability of reprints on Prismatic. Pokemon said they were going to do it. Surging Sparks, a reprint has already been announced. It's on the way. Those are likely going to have better entry points. Maybe you wait on those, right? But don't buy into this thing that I will not buy anything over MSRP, or I will not pay $150 or MSRP for a box. I will not buy a box again until it's $100. I won't buy an ETB until I can find it on a Walmart shelf at $60. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But with that kind of mindset, you're probably going to miss out on a lot of things in this hobby, right? A lot of these newer sets, I understand people being a little more cautious on. Reprints could come, but dollar cost averaging is the way to riches in investing. Just the way it is. Why do you think your 401k is set up to draw funds out of your account or your paycheck every single 2 weeks, 1 week, a month, whatever you get paid, and deposit those into the mutual funds and index funds you're holding every single time, right? Your 401k isn't managed by a manager and says, okay, we're going to hold all the cash this month because I think we're going to have a better entry next month. Or, this week earnings are coming out. We're going to wait till after earnings. They're not trying to trade. They are just investing it every single month. The same amount goes into those investments. Doesn't matter if the market's up. Doesn't matter if the market's down. If you bought up here, you bought a little too high. If you bought down here, you bought in at a better price. If you bought anywhere in the middle, guess what? It's an average. And over time, as the market rises, your average price is going to make you money. And so maybe you buy Scarlet Violet base right now at 140. Maybe we get a downturn, it drops to 120. Buy another box. Maybe it keeps going to 180 and you say, do I want to buy in more or do I just want to keep what I got and keep my gains, right? Same thing with some of these sets. Twilight Masquerade. Alex, $175 a box. It's still a new set. It could get a reprint. Okay, so buy one. What if it drops? Buy another one. What's it going to drop to? What do you think? 120, 130, 140? Buy another one. Buy one at 175. Buy one at 125. Your average price is now 150. Hey, buy two at 125. Now your average price is like what? 140. Goes back up to 175. Now you're up. Now altogether, you're up on your investment. You're down on one, but you're up on two. And that's how this whole thing works. And over time, those gains stack up. And so I get asked questions like, Alex, how did you amass all this like portfolio you have in collectibles? It's easy. I've been in the hobby 10 years. It's not that hard, right? When you allocate, just like your 401k, just like other investments, a certain amount of money per month, right? And you take advantage of any time the market drops on certain items, dollar cost average into those, let the high flyers run, right? And over time, as you keep putting more money in and your investment keeps growing, the net worth grows. And then you got a whole bunch of free money to play with. I can sell some of these items I have huge profit margins on, buy some of the newer items, take some more risks. Sometimes the risks pay off and I make tons of money. Sometimes they don't and I have to wait a little longer, 2-3 years to make money on them. And it all just kind of averages out. The problem is people are too obsessed with winning, right? Everyone wants to win. I want to do better than this guy. I want to have a better price appreciation. Oh, you bought Stellar Crown? Well, I bought Surging Sparks, you idiot. He bought Surging Sparks. I bought 151. He thought Paldea was a play. You're barely up 100% on Paldea. I'm up hundreds of percent. I'm better than you. I'm a better investor. Congratulations. I didn't know we were in competition. I'm in competition with myself to grow my net worth the safest way that I see possible in this hobby. I'm not here to try to compete off who's the best investor. And that's the other thing you gotta get out of your head. You gotta get out of your head trying to compete off like what's the best play, because it's gonna keep like have you this analysis paralysis and never make any play. And you have to stop worrying about the few things you're gonna lose on. Guys, you have no idea how many videos out there are talking about Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage, and Battle Styles. Alex, or Shining, where's that? Shining Fates. Alex, we're still down on these after 3 years. I told you Pokemon investing doesn't work. Well, if you took my advice, again, and you had a 3 to 5 year mindset in the hobby, and you diversified, right? Sword and Shield base set, what is that? Up to like 400s, 350 to 400, something like that. Rebel Clash, mid 2s. Darkness Ablaze, so you're up on these, right? What, maybe even? Maybe down a little, maybe even depending on when you got in. Up a ton. Up a massive amount, which more than pays for any of these sets by like 5-10x. Doing great on all these sets, right? Doing great on all the ETBs. Pokemon Go's a little flat. Everything else is great. And so when you take the whole Sword and Shield era, if you were averaging in every time at release, around release, dollar cost averaging down. By the way, if you dollar cost averages, like I just told you, on all these sets, when the reprints came, you're probably up on all of them at this point. Every single one of them, you're up money now. And when you can find an investment where you're up money on every single play in a course of 3 to 4 years, just because you took advantage of good buy points, dollar cost averaging down, letting your runners run, I don't see where the negative is. I know right now it's more expensive. It's harder to find deals, but the fact that it's more expensive doesn't mean it's not a play, is the best thing I can tell you. The fact that Apple stock is higher than it was a year ago doesn't mean it's not an investment, right? The fact that Bitcoin is higher than it was a year ago doesn't mean it's not an investment. The fact you can't buy a house for what you could a year or 2 years ago doesn't mean that house won't be worth more in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You see where I'm going with this? And so try not to let your emotions get involved as much as the data. And the only argument people really have for the data is past results don't guarantee future results. And I understand that. I get it. It's a very, it's a very honest, true take. But if you don't have anything else to go off of, right? You have to ask yourself, what's more likely? Is it more likely the status quo is going to continue and Pokemon's going to find a way to stay relevant and more people every generation are going to continue to want to collect this stuff, and all of us that are already in this hobby are going to increase our incomes and our careers, and we're going to want to buy more of this stuff and go back and collect the things we maybe couldn't afford before? Is that more likely? Or is it more likely the largest media franchise ends up dropping off a cliff and everything, becomes valueless when there's infinite other media franchises that have been successful for 2, 3, 4 times as long as Pokemon has? That's my take, guys. That's why I continue to make the plays and invest in this hobby. I hope this video helped clear things up for a lot of you that are newer. Again, I really want to continue to be that voice for the people who are newer to the hobby, who maybe have limited funds, limited resources, don't have a large collection or investment built up, so you can't afford to take some of the risks other people are making. You're not trying to stack up, mountains of cases, because that's not what it takes. I mean, just buying a box or two. If you can buy a case, maybe a case or two, just putting a little bit in this hobby can really amass you a good amount as long as you're going to be in it for a few years, just because of how collectibles and scarcity works. So hope this video helped. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. Be back in a new one soon. I'm out.